Nick of Time by Stephen Meehan. Tarian rushed to the center of the crumbling defenses and seized a rifle from one of the fallen. A tear welled, but he blinked it away. The dead deserved better, but mourning would have to wait. Among the fallen, he recognized Sorn, one of the youngest members of this expedition. He had hoped to start a family here. Tarian's chest tightened as he kneeled beside him, fingers brushing the man's cooling skin. A crude charm, likely made by a sister, dangled from Sorn's wrist. Tarian slipped it off and tucked it into his pouch without a word. He would remember. Around him, the stench of blood and ash clung to the air, thick as fog. The moans of the wounded rose between the cracks of crumbling stone, and somewhere behind him, sobs echoed, carrying names. The wall was breaking inside and out. He gripped his rifle tight as he scanned the rampart. Bodies and rifles lay scattered, nothing more than silent witnesses to the carnage of the horde siege. Fueled by burning hatred, he rose and opened fire into the enemy ranks. He fired twice before ducking behind the broken wall. Moments later, he peered through a nearby gap and he could see the undulating mass below. He adjusted the scope and picked out distinct shapes in the writhing swarm, each more monstrous than the last. He steadied his breath and squeezed the trigger. All shots aimed at a snarling beast, clawing its way up the wall. Each lance of light took one of the swirling bodies in the chest, but before the corpse could fall from view, more jumped in to fill the momentary void. He shifted, adjusting for his next shot, when a voice cut through the chaos.
Tarian!
The use of his name hit him like a blow from a massive hammer. His beleaguered eyes looked at the source of the shout, and he saw Sherry and Lloyd. He crouched lower and asked them,
"What is it?"
"We need to fire the missile,"
Lloyd said as he ducked further from view. Sherry glared at Lloyd as she spoke to Tarian.
That's our last shot. We don't have more.
"And what do you want to save it for, Sherry?"
Lloyd asked through gritted teeth as he gripped a chunk of broken stone. His eyes narrowed as he hurled the stone into the writhing swarm below.
"In case you haven't noticed, those things have amassed right in front of us and show no signs of stopping anytime soon."
Tarian, we have to wait.
Sherry pleaded as she ducked under an arrow. He shook his head and addressed Sherry.
No, Lloyd is correct. Their force has centered itself. This is our chance to eradicate most of what's out there.
What if you're wrong?
Sherry asked as she tried to avoid his scrutiny. Tarian returned his attention to the creatures below through his scope. As he took shot after shot at the never-ending sea of death, he spoke to both of his advisors.
We need a little more time. And right now, the missile is the only thing with the potential to provide it.
Tarian, I'm begging you. Don't waste the only big weapon we have left.
Sherry said. He fired twice, dropping the charging creature. As it collapsed, he leaned into the stock, forehead pressed to metal.
We don't have the time to wait, Sherry. If we don't fire the missile, then we'll be wiped out.
Tarian said, before he resumed firing, dropping another beast. After felling several more, he spun around and issued an order.
Fire the missile at their center before they disperse.
"Yes, sir,"
Lloyd said with a grim smile. As he turned to leave, he muttered,
"If they're going to take me, I'm going to drag as many as I can with me."
Tarian ducked behind the broken wall again, heart pounding, until the missile roared overhead. It raced into the sky and then plummeted towards the mass of bodies below. The explosion ripped through the horde, leaving a smoldering crater. The smoke hadn't even begun to clear before the enemy surged forward, relentless. His head fell as he heard Sherry's voice.
I told you we needed to wait to use that.
He shook his head as he bounced it off the remains of the wall.
We didn't have a choice.
They're coming. Nearly every remaining defender shouted, prompting Tarian's return to the rampart, where he resumed firing upon the undulating horde. With 5 pulls of the trigger, he dropped 5 more bodies. He lowered the scope just in time to see crude grappling hooks and ladders slam against the stone, letting the monsters claw their way up. Their cries pierced the air, a cruel, rhythmic echo of inevitability. As they continued their climb, Tarian increased his rate of fire, but the horde appeared endless. He aimed for the advancing beasts, dropping one, then another. But with every fall, more claws replaced them on the climb. One creature crested the wall. Tarian flung himself back, watching its eyes widen before it toppled to the ground with an arrow embedded in its back. He heard squeals of pain echoing forth from the far side of the wall. He scooted back to his perch and scanned the battlefield. Arrows rained down, tearing into the horde and splitting creatures apart. Looking out into the distance with his scope, he saw axes cleave through the creatures from behind. He lowered his rifle and looked up into the sky, saying,
They did it.
A thunderous cheer erupted from the defenders. The dwarves and elves are here. Caleb and Keldon did it. Sherry fell to her knees and laughed.
They actually came back.
Like I said, all we needed was time.
Tarian said, turning to Sherry. He touched the charm in his pocket, closing his eyes.
For all of them, we'll defend this wall.
To the end. The unified cry rose like a second wind, carried on the backs of their rescuers.
With that, our story concludes. I hope you've enjoyed today's reprieve from your daily grind. If you like the vibe, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, because every bit helps get this channel spread to those who require a momentary chance to unwind. I'll see you for the next tale, my friends.
Thanks for reaching the end of the video. But why not keep the rhythm going? Pick one of the videos on screen and settle in for another moment of escape. And if you haven't yet, hit subscribe and tap the bell to get notified when new tales drop.